And it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services and CBSI Talking Business, our podcast interview series talking to leaders in the fields of digital marketing, banking, insurance, travel, customer service, and business education. I'll highlight our team at CBSI. We're based in Harrison, New York, and we provide insurance-backed benefits to the credit card and payments industry. And in 2022, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary. Now, today we get a chance to talk to one of our friends who we did an interview with last year. That was one of our most watched of the year, I have to say. And that is Margie McCartney, who is Director of Global Sales at the DMC Network and works in the hospitality industry for her career. Has got a book out, received an award. I call you an expert. Margie, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ken. How about you?
Good, good. Now, great to chat. I mean, number one, the travel industry is recovering. I mean, after being at a standstill in 2020, air flights, certainly consumer travel seems to be up. Business travel is picking up. We're seeing a lot of successful conferences like the banking industry, for example.
Yes,
and
I completely agree.
What do you see happening in the travel and in the convention meeting activity this spring?
Well, pretty much everybody I speak to either just got back from somewhere, usually Europe, or is about to go, like myself. I'm leaving for Italy in a few weeks for 2 weeks, and I can't wait. It's a makeup trip from last year. And so many meeting planners that I've met with. And this is a year now that I've been with the DMC Network, great organization. So just kind of catching up with people that I've known for many, many years in this industry. And a lot of people said their programs for 20 were pushed to 21. Their programs for 21 were pushed to 22. So like a lot of the business that I'm going to be seeing come to fruition will be for 2023. But our phones are ringing off the hook. Our offices are busier than ever. You know, we never want to turn down business, but in some of our offices, they're so booked to capacity that they don't want to lose their staff because, you know, obviously your staff is really the most important thing. They got to make the program successful. So just trying to keep that all in balance. And as far as individual travel, I would say every plane I've been on has pretty much been packed. So I'd say I don't think COVID is over, but we're getting there.
Absolutely. And Margie McCartney, tell us a little bit about your company, DMC Network, some of the services that you provide in the hospitality field. Sure.
Well, we've got 45 members around the globe representing 100 destinations, North America, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and Europe. We're the only fully member-owned community of DMCs, and everybody has been completely vetted and is accredited. Also, something that we're always very proud of is the fact that in all of our offices and in our headquarters team, we're very active in the industry and different organizations and associations like the Society of Incentive Travel Excellence. I think I mentioned to you that last month, or actually in April, 2 months ago, because it's June now, I had the opportunity to fly to Dublin, Ireland to speak to the Society of Incentive Travel Excellence at their global meeting, which was a big thrill. That meeting was initially scheduled for January, but because of the Omicron variant in December, it was pushed back from January to April. The weather was gorgeous. And usually I stay with friends when I'm in Dublin. So it was kind of nice to be at this beautiful Spencer Hotel overlooking the Liffey River. And they even upgraded me to a room with the balcony. So that was very special. And my niece flew up from Paris to help me, which was lovely as well. So it was great. They had 460 registrants for the conference, which I think they were super pleased with. Because, you know, everybody's just sort of just getting back out and peeking their head out the window to see what's going on. So I think they were probably nervous that maybe not as many people wanted to come, but I think people are so anxious to travel. And when I say anxious, I don't mean nervous. I mean excited and just feeling like for the past 2 years, everybody's been shut down. So, you know, it's like Katie bar the door. Let's get out there and see the world and do fun things and get back together with your teams and your clients. We actually have an event that's coming up in 2 weeks in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's our annual meeting as well as client exchange. So everybody's bringing different clients. There'll be lots of meetings. It's a great way to interact. Some of the other groups that we're very involved with are Meeting Professionals International. PCMA is Professional Conference Managers Association. ADME is the Association of Destination Management Executives International. And also we're always involved with our local convention and visitors bureaus. we know how important it is to give back to the community. Plus, it's a great opportunity for us to learn, get involved with these different associations in terms of education, best practices, and building our community. So it's a really fun industry. I've been in the hospitality industry my whole life. I really can't imagine doing anything else. And it's great that for a living, I get to make people happy.
Well, that's terrific. And you were very good at that. One of the themes that you've had in your career and in your writing and your speaking is managing expectations for your clients when they go to conventions, when they go to meetings, go to special events. What are some of the keys to managing people's expectations when they go to events?
Yeah, actually, it starts really with the first phone call. And I would say if something's changed, it would be that because so many people lost their jobs and they're not hiring back fast enough, that it might take a little bit longer for us to get a call back from a restaurant that we're trying to book for a customer or another venue or a service. You know, our offices are in the location, so they know everybody. They're the experts. If somebody calls me and says, hey, I need to know where the best place would be to have a lunch for 50 or a gala dinner for 200 in whatever city it might be, I might not know the answer, but I can make one phone call and get that answer like that because our people are experts. But right now it takes just a little bit longer. It's like if somebody says I need it right away, it's like, well, we need to manage your expectations because you're not going to get it right away. But, you know, if we can't give it to you by next Tuesday, how about next Thursday or Friday? You know what I mean? So managing their expectations right out of the gate with the initial conversation and receiving information from us about putting together their program. And other than that, like you always want to under promise and over deliver, you know, that's always the goal, is to make sure that everything runs smoothly. One of the things that, ironically, I've spoken about for years, and I just recently had this happen, is when you have a client whose CEO or something has taken their spouse to a great restaurant in the city, and they come to us, the destination management company, as the local experts, and say, you know, we want to go to this restaurant because our boss was there. And we're like, you know what? We know from experience that restaurant doesn't need group business, doesn't really want group business, and will not treat your clients the way they deserve. And I would say 70% of the time, they're like, well, that's what he wants to do, or that's what she wants to do. So that's what we're going to have to do. And we warn them, and then they go, and it's a disappointing experience. They don't get the service they deserve. And you never want to say, I told you so, because we look at it, we're in it together with the client to give them the best possible experience, because we want them not only to come back to that city, but to come back to the destination DMC network for more assistance down the road when they have their next program. So a lot of it is just, you know, convincing them that, like, listen, we really do know what works because we've done it before.
Very good. Now, you mentioned you were just in Ireland this spring for a trip, and you're going to Italy on it sounds like a great trip. Coming up soon. What's different, or for someone who might be planning a trip to Europe that they postponed because of COVID, that the experience might be different on logistics, car rentals, transportation within a country? Is it anything that stands out as different, or are things getting close to back to normal?
I would say, as far as the airfare, I was shocked when my husband and I were looking to book our flights to Italy, because used to be like for 60,000 miles, you could get a round trip ticket to Europe, or maybe 80, maybe 100. They were asking for 260,000 miles for one ticket. And there was no way I was going to do that. So we had some money left over from a canceled Cubs Cardinals game in London a couple of years ago. So we put that money towards this trip, and then kind of got a little extra leg room there to fly to Rome and from Rome. So that was a little bit shocking. I have rented an SUV. We may have to upgrade to a van based on how much luggage we all have. But so I'll be driving from Rome to Siena, but I've driven Italy before, and none of that phases me. I would say that the planes are going to be full. As far as masks, when I flew to Ireland, 10 minutes into the flight, the pilot came on and said, you don't need to wear your mask anymore. Some people kept them on, some people didn't. You know, I think it's a personal choice. I've been fully vaccinated. Almost everybody I know has been fully vaccinated. Why wouldn't you be? And so I'm not nervous about that. When I went to Ireland, I had to show proof of my vaccination at the airport, but I didn't have to take any tests to get into Ireland. But coming back to the United States, within 24 hours of my flight, I had to go get a COVID test and make sure that it was negative in order to board the plane. So I had to have that piece of paper to board the plane. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case in Italy. I mean, things change all the time, but I know I'm fine going over. I'm pretty sure we don't have to get tested coming back. And if so, maybe they'll have a place at the airport. I'll look into that more once we get over there.
Yeah, it's sort of been a concern we've heard from travelers at CBSI that if they do get a COVID positive on a test, when they're in that 24-hour before returning, that they may be having to stay in the country for a few extra days at an added cost. Now, you've got your book out, and then networking lessons from an extraordinary life still in progress.
Right here.
You've got some great stories in that. You've drawn some crowds to your book signings. What's a favorite story that you have in that? I mean, it's just chock full of notes about how to meet people and stay in touch with them.
Well, one of my favorite stories, which actually was cut from the book, because initially it was like 96,000 words and then ended up being 64, something like that. Anyway, it was, it's not a long-term friendship, but it's a lovely story that I really like. Our family's best friends were the Harrisons growing up. So it was the McCartneys and the Harrisons, and our friend Doug Harrison married a woman named Joan Rankin from Westchester County in New York. And her dad was on a plane coming back from London 60 years ago, maybe. And he was sitting in first class next to a young man with brown hair and brown eyes. And he said to the young man, "Oh, what's your name?" And he said, "My name is Paul." And he said, "Paul, what do you do for a living?" And he said, "I'm a musician." And Mr. Rankin looked at him and said, "Well, you're wearing jeans, but you're sitting in first class, so I guess you do okay." You can imagine Paul McCartney's surprise that this man had absolutely no idea who he was. But he also thought, isn't this great, probably, that I'm not going to be quizzed going over the ocean for the next 9 hours on, what's the real meaning behind I'm a walrus or whatnot. But as they were landing at Kennedy, Paul McCartney said to Mr. Rankin, "Do you have any kids?" He goes, "I got a couple teenage daughters." So he said, "Tell you what, why don't I give you my autograph in case they might know who I am?" He's like, "Yeah, all right." So he goes home and he gives the autograph to his daughter, Joan. And she's like, "Dad, Paul McCartney from the Beatles." He's like, "Well, I didn't know." So I always thought that was so classy of Paul McCartney to do that. No, they didn't remain lifelong friends, but a lot of the book is about being kind and the kindness of strangers and how that affects your life or even your day. It's so easy to be nice. And you know what? Even saying hello to somebody on the sidewalk, you don't know whether they just lost somebody or they're having a really bad day. And I just think it just takes this much to be above average. I was recently having a conversation with a industry friend, and I said, half of life is showing up and the other half is caring. I just think that kind of sums it all up, actually.
Yeah, very good advice. And, there's some good thought out about what business people need to do to re-engage after nearly 2 years now of communicating over Zoom, not having, the informal coffee meetings we used to have, or lunches, or even some trade events, and having to re-engage in different ways. I always say, people, pick up the phone and talk to people. It is.
But you know what, Ken, not to interrupt you, but that's funny you say that because I'm a phone girl myself. But there's been so many changes with staffing in different organizations that when you call to look for somebody, more than half the time they're not there anymore. And they don't have somebody saying, "Hi, this is Mary, may I help you?" It's, "Hi, please spell the person's last name to be connected." And that means you need to know who it is that you want to speak to when half those people are gone. And I'm trying to find out who the new person is that's planning their meetings or their incentives or their next, corporate event. So actually I was in Milwaukee last week for a Society of Incentive Travel Excellence event, which was wonderful, and made some sales calls. And I had a great lunch, got a couple leads on the trip, which is what it's all about in this business. But I actually went and stopped and got like 4 pounds of chocolate, and different companies that I had called, I stopped by. There was someone to speak with. At least I got a name, and then I can follow up with them. So you know what? It's kind of old school. I know my brother Ray is a college football coach. And my dad was in sales also. And I think we get this honestly. My brother Ray is a master at knowing each high school secretary in the football department, what their favorite flowers are, what their favorite chocolates are, so he can get through that door to meet with that coach and get to that kid so he can recruit him for the school that he's at now, which right now is Davidson College in North Carolina.
No, Ray's had a great career in college football, and that's an interesting approach. I hadn't thought of that one. That's a terrific approach in college recruiting. He's having a great career. Hey, Margie McCartney, want to acknowledge you are a Hall of Famer from the Meeting Planners International Chicago chapter. Just tell us a little bit about what that meant to you receiving that recognition.
Well, I was really honored to be nominated by a colleague of mine in my previous job. And I got nominated for 2020, but they didn't do the big awards that year. They decided to roll it over to 2021. And like a week out, I got an email reminder like, hey, you were nominated for this award. You have to fill out this paperwork by like Friday. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I filled it all out and I said, when is the event? And just so you know, my parents were married on June 2nd, 1951. My father died on June 2nd, 2005. And they told me the event was June 2nd, 2021. And when I first found out I was nominated, I thought, oh my God, there's so many people that are, I'm sure, nominated that are going to, would be in front of me to receive this award. But then when I heard it was June 2nd, 2021, I thought, maybe I might win this. And I did. If it was June 1st or June 3rd, I wouldn't have been as confident. But June 2nd, I thought that's kind of our day. So it was a huge honor. And actually in my book, there's a chapter on the kindness of strangers. It's actually my favorite chapter. And I'm just looking for a photo right now. There was a cab driver from Chicago named Tamu Mbelu. He's wonderful. And he picked me up at O'Hare in 2017. I was really, really sick. And he took care of me. And it's a lovely story. And now he's like a brother to me. I took he and his family to the first Cubs game, their first Bulls game. We're going back to Wrigley in July. And it's just the epitome of a stranger helping somebody and it changing both of their lives.
Absolutely. I hear that talking to some of our military guests about the need to be able to meet people, make new friends when you have to transfer your duty locations every few years through a career. And just maybe a final thought, we all talk about what was learned during COVID, what worked in different types of digital marketing and communications. Sometimes, in some cases, continuing to do hybrid meetings, as much as we all want to get together in person. Is there any things that have been learned that are continuing, or going to be part of the future in what you do in the hospitality sector?
Well, I'll tell you, I was at an industry event for PCMA this week in Schaumburg, Illinois, and one of the speakers used the word pivot. And if there was one word that I really never want to hear again, it's the word pivot. I hate that word since COVID. It was like over and over, just that word. And I told the lady that was speaking and she said, oh, I've got a better one, pirouette. I'm like, I like that. You spin around and you look at it in a different way. One of my favorite titles of the chapters is one that I found on a napkin at a great little store in Quogue, New York, called Homespun. And it was a napkin that said, when life gives you lemons, sell them to buy wine. And I think that that's just a perfect saying in every way. And that's what I learned the most during COVID was, you know what? You just got to make the best of every situation. If we've learned nothing, it's to celebrate everything. Like my birthday's next week. It's not a big birthday. It's not anything, but it's like, you know what? We're going to have a little party in my mom's backyard because I'm still here. And I think we just really need to celebrate everything because life is short and fleeting and scary sometimes. And it's been very overwhelming and it's affected a lot of people in so many different ways, battling depression and whatnot. So I just think that, you know what, if we learned anything, it's to look out for each other, take care of each other and you just continue to do the best you can in life and know that there's somebody else out there that is struggling and that, maybe you can help them, they can help you and just kind of hold hands and take care of each other.
Absolutely. And Margie McCartney, great to talk with you today. And
thanks.
Margie, Director of Global Sales at the DMC Network based in Chicago and a Hall of Famer from the Meeting Planners International Chicago chapter and the author of of a great read and then networking lessons from an extraordinary life still in progress. Margie, great to have a chance to talk with you today.
Thank you, Ken. You take care.
Okay, good to see you. And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services and CBSI Talking Business. All recognize our team. At CBSI, we're based in Harrison, New York. We provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card and payments industry. And we are really happy to be celebrating our 50th anniversary under the leadership of our founder, Bob Conti. Margie, thanks again. And
thank you. Appreciate your time.
We'll do this again. And this is Ken Kraetzer, and thank you for watching.